1862, captured New Orleans. Under tremendous fire, he breached the heavy chain cable that stretched across the Mississippi and led his ships up the channel filled with mines called torpedoes. The loss of New Orleans was a major disaster for the South, as it was the Confederacy's largest city. During his last illness, David Farragut, the Navy's first four-star admiral, asked for a clergyman to pray to the Lord for him, saying, "He must be my pilot now."
This has been an American Minute with Bill Federer. For a free transcript, call American Minute at 1-888-USA-WORD.
VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
Thank you for joining us today here on Crosstalk. And folks, we've got another must-listen-to program today. We've got a lot of information we need to share with you. We are seeing some pretty amazing matters unfold in such a short period of time. Under the banner of fighting the coronavirus, we have seen the push for a world government. We've seen a push for an empowered United Nations. We've heard of the drive toward a cashless society and medical identification cards, but it doesn't stop there. According to our guest today, global forces are about to launch an all-out drive to impose the Green New Deal at every level of American government. And according to our guest, the Green New Deal is indeed Agenda 21, is indeed Agenda 2030. Joining us today, we welcome back Tom DeWeese, president of American Policy Center. Tom is one of the nation's leading advocates of individual freedom, free enterprise, private property rights, personal privacy, back-to-basics education, and American sovereignty and independence, and protecting our constitutionally guaranteed rights. He's the author of Sustainable, The War on Free Enterprise, Private Property and Individuals, and Erase, which is a political novel. Tom, welcome back here to Crosstalk.
It's good to be with you, Jim. Thank you.
You indicate that, and we've got a ton of information here, but you indicate that there's this new game plan coming from lessons globalists have learned from the coronavirus lockdown, and that fear is the key to all of us. Tell us what's going on.
Well, first of all, they started back in March. There's an organization called Security and Sustainability Forum, and they began to hold online town halls with elected officials and other activists and so forth of how to use the coronavirus, the whole patent thing that they're doing to now create a climate change crisis and use some of the same tactics. And just today, I got a report. The World Economic Forum, working hand-in-hand with the World Health Organization and the United Nations, is urging various governments to focus on flattening the climate curve.
Wow.
There they go, using the same tactics as the coronavirus. And one of the guys says this is a golden opportunity to retool our economies for the planet that we are living on, and not the unlimited, infinitely stable one we wish we had. So there you are.
Wow. Tom, you indicate that this Green New Deal is Agenda 21, is Agenda 2030. We're going to talk about that. But first of all, for our listeners, what is the difference, if any, between Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030?
All it is every few years the UN holds another meeting, and they want to rally their troops, and so they come out with something new. Agenda 2030 is just more details of Agenda 21. They just get more clarity in what it is that they're planning to do. When they did Agenda 21 in 1992, they had all kinds of words in there that, well, what does that really mean? Well, Agenda 2030 comes straight out and tells you what it means. And so that's the difference. It's the same agenda. It's just more details. So
I also was reading in one article where they said the goal of Agenda 21 was to have that fully implemented by 2021. That didn't happen. 2030 allows it to be extended to the year 2030. Is there any accuracy to that?
Well, actually, Agenda 21 meant agenda for the 21st century. And so I've seen other people say that it was to be by 21. But that's not the way I've ever interpreted it. It's just for the 21st century.
21st century.
But then the Agenda 2030, yes, they set a specific date. That's one of the changes in it, yeah.
So with the Green New Deal being Agenda 21, being Agenda 2030, you indicate that there are 4 main pillars here to the Green New Deal. And let me mention the pillar. I'm going to have you comment on it. The first you indicate is called the Economic Bill of Rights. Tell us about that. Right.
Yeah, this comes a report from the Green Party, which is a major proponent of the Green New Deal. And they're the ones who kind of labeled it their 4 points. They said these are 4 pillars for it. The Economic Bill of Rights, and these are their words, consists of the right to full employment and ending unemployment by guaranteeing a job at a living wage in a safe workplace, empowered by labor unions. And then it goes on to talk about single-payer medical care for all, tuition-free education, and affordable housing. These are all the things you are hearing now anyway in, the Democrats in their campaigns. If you listen to their debates and so forth, the presidential debates, these are all points that they have made, and these are all in their agenda. And according to the Green Party USA, they are the agenda of the Green New Deal.
The second pillar you present is what's called a green transition. What is this green transition?
Well, of course, this is, the root of the whole thing. But it's interesting because they do talk about going after, the investors and so forth. It's interesting. They talk about that rich absentee investors will be a thing of the past. Now, if you invest yourself into the stock market, you're using your broker or whatever, you're an absentee investor. So they mean you. And they want all that to be redirected into investing in wind and solar instead of fossil fuels. And, of course, the whole thing, sustainable agriculture, we've talked about before, and forestry. And then, of course, how do they get their full employment? They're promising in Part 1 is green jobs and mass transit and bikeways and pedestrian traffic, rather than cars. So, and again, as we've talked about too, the regional food systems, control of our food supply, and one of the things they want to get rid of is shipping trucks, shipping stuff in. If you look at the original maps that they did of sustainable communities, they would show that every community is to raise all of their own crops and everything that they need to exist right there instead of shipping things in, which, of course, is a total impossibility.
So we're talking with Tom DeWeese today. Right now we've talking about these pillars that are part of the Green New Deal. And this one, and Tom, this is why AOC she was just giddy. She's so happy to see what's happened to oil today, as far as the markets on oil in particular.
Absolutely, she's been dancing a jig over this, and it's all part of it. And now again back to the coronavirus thing and all the lockdown. What have we done? We stopped airline travel. That was one of the things called for in the Green New Deal. Stopping cars and driving, part of the Green New Deal. So, just watching all the efforts to shut America down is exactly what has been called for in this, and we're seeing it happen. How do you like it?
Let's move on to the third pillar that you call real financial reform. I mean, you're talking about some control of money supply here, aren't you?
Absolutely. And again, redistribution of wealth is a major part of all of their plans. And it is interesting that they talk about getting rid of the Federal Reserve and breaking up the banking monopoly. Now, you and I probably wouldn't have a whole lot of problem with that. But then you look at what do they mean by it. And again, they're targeting private investors, and everything, all the financial needs would go through the federal government. And, so we're using tax dollars to, this is interesting, the creation of a public-owned banks that function as non-profit utilities.
Wow.
So, you want to put your money in there? Let's put it in the IRS. Let's put it in any agency. Yeah.
Wow. Well, and the fourth pillar you present is called a functioning democracy. I mean, communism very much a part of this, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. And they say, that this would restore the promise of American democracy. Well, right off the bat, the problem with that promise is there's no such promise of American democracy because we're not a democracy. Mm-hmm. We are a republic. And what I find so interesting about this is a democracy is majority rules. And, you have so many minorities that are complaining about discrimination and problems to try to get ahead and so forth. In our republic, the rights of an individual, of the minority of one, are protected no matter what the lynch mob says. And, the old joke of democracy is three wolves and a sheep voting on what to have for lunch. You know where that's going. And but they keep bringing us up democracy. Democracy is like it's some wonderful thing. And really, if you go back to a whole lot of our problems now that we've been facing in discrimination and things unfair and so forth, you'll find it's because they quit listening to our Constitution and our republic, and they put in these democracy things, and now you're feeling the effect of it.
Tom DeWeese with us here today on Crosstalk. He's president of American Policy Center, and just reviewing for us what are those four pillars of the Green New Deal. Again, that is calling for the economic Bill of Rights, a green transition, real financial reform, and a functioning democracy. He's given us in brief here what that means. But Tom, when you look at the Agenda 2030 goals, and there are 17 of them, and we can't go through these in detail like they need to be, but 17 of these goals, this whole Green New Deal fits hand in glove with the Green New Deal and Agenda 2030 goals.
Absolutely, and if you want to see the whole thing, I mean, on my website I've got the Green New Deal is Agenda 21, the growing drive to make it law. That article is on there. And what I've done is I've gone through the 17 goals of Agenda 2030 and tied it to each of these four pillars that we've just gone through, and which ones relate to that. And it's all there.
For instance, and again, folks, the website is AmericanPolicy.org, AmericanPolicy.org. Look for the article, Green New Deal is Agenda 21, the growing drive to make it law. And that drive it's really intensified with the coronavirus, Tom, because they are using the coronavirus and our response to COVID-19 as the driving mechanism to implement these things. I mean, we've seen some of the horrific plans that Nancy Pelosi had put into one of these stimulus bills, the reaction bills, and she's promised there's going to be, if we do a fourth one, there's going to be many of these components in it.
Absolutely, and they just keep pushing in every direction. And, one of the things they said in one of the documents that I had intercepted, it said it's time to switch to Game B, a globally cooperative humanity worth its name. The plan has a name, Green New Deal. That's their words.
Wow.
And, the governor of California said the coronavirus crisis is an opportunity to advance a more progressive agenda.
Yes.
So,
and that's what we're seeing. I mean, Newsbusters just reported their CNN climate correspondent, Bill Weird, touted the environmental benefits of the economic shutdowns, but worried it's not enough. There's the thought that the virus has helped humanity buy some time when it comes to global warming.
Yeah. And they, as we said before, they're just really excited that we've stopped using energy over this shutdown, and there it is. There's our plan. And you watch as we get hope that they're going to start to reopen the country and get things rolling again, and then you see a governor come out and say, nope, we got to hold up, we got to wait another month, we got to wait here. It could be 2 years before we get everything together.
Wow.
These are governors who are following this plan as we're talking about today.
We're going to take a quick break. Tom DeWeese is our guest. We're going to look further at Agenda 2030 goals when we come back from the break, how it all fits right with the Green New Deal. We'll be right back.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, scientist and creation seminar speaker with the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, where do comets come from?
Chris, the short-period comets, like Halley's Comet, can make only a few trips around the sun before they completely disintegrate. Yet there are a number of short-period comets. Obviously, to support a billions of years old solar system, evolutionists need an inexhaustible supply of short-period comets. Thus, they had proposed a belt of comets called the Kuiper Belt orbiting the sun near Neptune. They had no evidence of such a zone of comets, but figured it must be there to salvage their theory. Well, now we have the telescopes and spacecraft able to search this zone, and we've found less than 4% of what they need. Thus, this dreamland of comets needed to salvage Big Bang ideas has been disproved. What hasn't been disproved is the creation story. That's the one that's given back in Genesis.
For more on creation, visit our website at www.icr.org.
Tom DeWeese, our guest here today on Crosstalk. Our topic, the Green New Deal, is Agenda 21, is Agenda 2030. We're discussing that today. We went through the 4 pillars of the Green New Deal, and we're going to take a brief look here at the Agenda 2030 goals. As we mentioned, there are 17 of them, but some of the very same things that we saw in the Green New Deal are so evident. It's hand in glove. I mean, they are certainly identical twins as it relates to this issue. Number one goal, Tom, is ending poverty in all of its forms everywhere. Isn't that the redistribution of wealth you talked about?
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And, their call for an equal rights to economic resources and so forth, that's right out of pillar number 1 of the Green New Deal.
And ending hunger is number 2, achieving food security. That's also tied to the Green New Deal.
Absolutely. And that, again, goes to pillar number 2.
That's controlling our food supply.
Controlling the food supply, the green transition. There it is. And we are seeing this move rapidly. We talk about the control of the cattle industry and so forth, and the global sustainable roundtable and all that. That's all part of it.
Number 3 is ensure healthy lives and promote well-being of all. I think you call that cradle-to-grave control.
That's right. And, again, of healthy lives, it's interesting, because I say in the article that, it's about getting us out of our cars and walking and riding bikes and so forth. But, there was a few years ago, there was a federal building built in, I believe it was in San Francisco, and it was a new federal building. And the elevator only stopped on every other floor. And the reason for that was it was healthier for you to walk up the steps to go to the next floor.
Wow.
So,
let's see, equitable quality education, promote lifelong learning opportunities.
This is literally the curriculum today anyway. What do we hear all the time? Lifelong learning opportunities. That's a way to, keep indoctrinating you as time goes by with the latest developments in all the plans. It has nothing to do with academics and that kind of learning.
That's part of Pillar 1 of the Green New Deal. Another one is gender equality, Tom.
Yep, here we go. And we see all this talk about the war on women and so forth. And, everything. What do we have now, 57 genders that we have now? Keep it all equal.
Yeah.
That, again, goes back to pillar number 4. And,
Each of these folks, and Tom has these all laid out on his website, to sustainable management of water and sanitation, ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all, promoting sustained, inclusive, and sustained economic growth, full and productive employment, work for all. It gets into infrastructure and sustainable industrialization. Every one of these is tied back into the Green New Deal, part of Agenda 21. And, Tom, people can go through this on their own time, but I see number 17 is to strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development.
Yeah, well, this is just going right back to Agenda 21. And, they called it, they called Agenda 21 the comprehensive blueprint for the reorganization of human society. Tell me what it is we're saying here. Total reorganization of our society, and what they are desperate to have. And this is why they are so adamant about getting rid of Donald Trump and so forth because he got in their way. When he started talking about make America great again, national sovereignty, our national laws, our own culture, that has put a real roadblock into their efforts for a global society, and those don't go together. And what's interesting about this, Jim, is that as you watch other people, other countries, you know, they're starting to cheer Donald Trump and the idea of their national sovereignty, national pride. You had Brexit in England. You had the people in Hong Kong standing up with American flags, chanting Trump and make Hong Kong great again, and so forth. This terrified these people because he was really beginning to lead a worldwide movement of national pride, national sovereignty, and a real monkey wrench into the whole globalist agenda.
And so we have those that are fighting the coronavirus and using it as a means to implement aspects of the Green New Deal. Tom, I saw AOC attacking property rights of landlords, saying this: people shouldn't be making money off of just owning property. That's all part of Green New Deal. It's all part of Agenda 21.
Absolutely. I mean, private property ownership and building equity on your own property is the main means that average Americans have to build personal wealth. 60% of the businesses in this country were started by people using equity in their private property, and they employed over 60% of the people. I don't know if that's true today, but it was. And that's how we built the greatest economy in the world, private property ownership. And the new thing that they're doing is targeting landlords. One of the things they keep saying is that landlords don't have a right to ask a potential renter if they can afford the rent. And then they start putting rent controls over. First of all, they raise all the costs for the poor landlord, you know, the building costs and taxes and so forth. The landlord raises the rent. Oh, that's racist. We can't have that. Mm-hmm. And what you're going to do is put the landlords out of business, and we're taking away single-family homes, no private property. What's the result of that? All homes, everywhere you live, will be government housing. They control it all.
Well, and I find that interesting because, again, using the battle against the coronavirus to introduce things like this, I saw Ilhan Omar, Minnesota, introducing this, what's called the Rent and Mortgage Cancellation Act. Cancel all rent, cancel all mortgage payments, regardless of income, regardless of employment, for the duration of the coronavirus pandemic. How long is this? Tom, we could be talking, there are some that are projecting that this might be years. Some are saying months, some are saying many months, some are saying years.
Yeah, absolute collapse of the economy. The free market economy has been a target of the Agenda 21 people to begin with. You've had the United Nations have been saying this, and we've got quotes all over the place of them attacking that economy and wanting to put in a total global economy and total top-down government economy. And this all just falls right in their hands. As I said in the beginning, they're dancing a jig over this.
And we're familiar with the phone call Joe Biden had with Al Gore here recently, and Al giving his blessing to Joe's candidacy. And now we have Democratic candidate Joe Biden acknowledging he's ready to embrace the Green New Deal, calls the coronavirus an opportunity to fundamentally change the science related to global warming.
Absolutely. And I said right in the beginning when they first introduced the Green New Deal, and Mitch McConnell in the Senate decided he was going to be real clever, and he quickly brings up a vote on it, and it's 57-0 because no Democrats voted for their own bill. He said, ha, 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 look at that. What a joke. They didn't vote for their own bill. And he just could not grasp that what they were after, what they were heading for. And then you started having Republicans saying, well, this is kind of radical, but we can do something a little more reasonable. Well, that's a victory for them. Once they start to do that, then it falls into their hands. We now have their agenda. We're just debating over the details.
And friends, understand that there is so much that is happening to propel these kind of things. Look at Virginia. I mean, Governor Northam has some of the things he's signing into law are just outrageous. You saw the attack upon the Second Amendment. You've seen the attack upon life itself, reproductive freedom. But now he just signed into law, too, the Virginia Clean Economy Act, this renewable energy mandate that forces utilities to produce 14% of their electricity generated from renewable sources in 2021, gradually increasing to a mandate, Tom, of 100% by the year 2050, doing that, raising energy rates right in the time of the coronavirus issue.
Absolutely, and they're talking about, in order to get enough of that energy generated, is putting wind turbines off the coast, the Chesapeake Bay, and off the Virginia coast there, coast out there, and 600-700 perhaps of these windmills out there turning this. The fact of the matter is, report after report after report proves that this energy, solar and wind, do not produce anywhere near the kind of energy that we need. In fact, some people say, scientists who have looked into it and so forth, say that the one windmill will never produce enough power to make up the energy it took to make it, just to build it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And what you're going to find is absolute shutdowns of things. I've been predicting for several years that you would have energy curfews. And at night, you have to turn off all your lights and your computers and your television sets, and wouldn't be any nighttime shifts at the factories and things like that. This absolutely destroys the economy, jobs, everything. It doesn't work.
Tom DeWeese, our guest here today on Crosstalk, and again, his website, AmericanPolicy.org. Tom, I was going back in our archives and saw you were with us June 17th, 2019. Our topic was the growing push to destroy the beef industry. November 4th, you joined us again. Your topic, Beef Under Attack, What You Can Do. And we observe what's going on now in our meat processing plants and our meat packing plants all across the nation right now. And I scratched my head and I said, how is it that a coronavirus outbreak almost simultaneously is occurring in meat processing plants all over the country?
Yeah, I've been asking that question too. I find it very strange that where we need something, all of a sudden they have a huge outbreak, and it doesn't match what's going on everywhere else. And of course, I read this morning one of the big problems in the meat packing plants and so forth is that they didn't label them as essential, and so a lot of the employees were taking this free money and going home and not working, so they didn't have enough people to work in them. But how did they get so many cases of this in a place when it doesn't happen, in the rest of the area?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing plants shut down in our state of Wisconsin. We are seeing it happen in other states. I mean, we hear the outbreaks happening in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, as we mentioned, Green Bay. I mean, numerous places across this country. And we cannot ignore the fact that meat has been under attack by Agenda 21, under attack by the Green New Deal.
Absolutely, and this is what we were talking about in those previous things you were mentioning in previous interviews. The World Wildlife Fund grabbed hold of the American beef industry. They created there's several of these, but the Global Sustainable Beef Roundtable. And on that roundtable, first of all, there are four main packing companies in this country. They have basically their own monopoly. They've done everything they can to stop any smaller packing companies to come together to give some kind of a free market to it. They have gone in lockstep with pricing and so forth. And one of the big things they did was they removed the country of origin labeling. Mm-hmm. And so now we have foreign beef coming into this country, and it's destroying the local cattlemen.
We're going to take a quick break. Folks, when we come back, you're going to be hearing from a Facebook posting that's gone viral. It's a Texas rancher, Shad Sullivan, and he's got an urgent message for everyone in the nation to hear. You need to hear from this rancher what he has to say. We'll be right back.
Have you ever had someone attempt to talk to you about the Watchtower Society or the Book of Mormon? Or perhaps a friend has told you they've started yoga and invite you to participate. You know you heard something about these religions and teachings, but never had the material in your hand to give a biblical response to their teachings. Well, now you can. Two world-renowned researchers, Dr. Ron Carlson and Ed Decker, have teamed up to write Fast Facts on False Teachings, an easy-to-use resource guide that gives you quick, clear facts about several cults and false teachings. You'll find chapters on atheism, Freemasonry, Hinduism and yoga, Islam, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormonism, and much more. Fast Facts on False Teachings is available for a donation of $16 or more by writing VCY America at 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53208. To make your donation by phone, call 1-800-729-9829. That's 1-800-729-9829.
The program is called Crosstalk. It's heard on the VCY America Network. Our guest today is Tom DeWeese from American Policy Center. And folks, we have scratched the surface only on his article that's on his site. It's about 10 pages long. It's entitled Green New Deal is Agenda 21, the growing drive to make it law. If you go to AmericanPolicy.org, AmericanPolicy.org. You'll find it right there on their homepage. You'll be able to read that more thoroughly, and you'll see the links. And he's got all the goals of Agenda 21, and behind each of the goals, you'll see the link back to the Green New Deal, to one of the pillars of the Green New Deal. Tom has been with us before, warning about the attack on beef across our nation. And folks, right now, I mean, I've been hearing news reports saying that days or a week from now, as much as the scarcity of toilet paper was taking place, we're going to see that same thing happen on meat shelves. Now, President Trump has ordered production plants, processing plants to stay operational. But I want you to hear this urgent plea that has gone out here across the nation. He posted on his own page first, Shad Sullivan. He also is an individual that's involved with RCAF. And he makes this urgent plea and shares what exactly is happening across the nation. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
Hey everybody, this is Shad Sullivan coming to you from the headwaters of Bitter Creek, Archer County, North Texas. We have to talk. State officials will be assisting to help identify potential alternative markets if a producer is unable to move animals, and if necessary, advise and assist on depopulation and disposal methods. Ladies and gentlemen, we are plowing under vegetable crops from coast to coast. We are euthanizing millions of chickens. We are aborting sows and burying feeder pigs. We are dumping milk by the hundreds of thousands of gallons, and now they are preparing us to depopulate the fat cattle ready to harvest because of a bottleneck created by the effects of COVID. This thing hasn't been created by COVID, but the effects of COVID and the logistics therein. We are in trouble. Our food supply is in trouble, and I am appealing to producers and consumers across the nation to start calling. Yesterday, the first shipment of imported beef from the country of Namibia hit the shores of the United States of America. And yet this morning, they are telling us to prepare to euthanize harvest-ready cattle. Am I the only one that sees a problem in this? It is time we get the American people back to work. It is time we get money flowing. It is time we get food on the shelves. Because if you're not concerned about this food supply problem, You better be. We have a huge supply and demand of food across this nation. We can feed the world ourselves, and yet we're destroying our harvests. At the same time, we are importing beef from other countries, beef that is less regulated than our beef, less safe, not as high quality a product, and yet it's happening. At the same time, they are preparing for us to euthanize our harvests. Does that make sense to America? For the last 10 years, we have been pressed to be sustainable. I've said all along, sustainability is a fraud. And right now, we're being forced to destroy our harvests. That doesn't sound like sustainability to me. But it is part of the overall goal to vertically integrate your food system. You see, they cannot have control of the people unless they have control of the food, the water, the land, production. It is time we get back to work. It is time the American people force the government to listen to us. We are of, by, and for the people. This is not Nancy Pelosi's country. This is not Donald Trump's country. This is your country, and you're going to go hungry. We must get regional and local packing houses up and going. Do we have to have those big packing plants? You bet we do, and they need to be running right now. We need help. You as a consumer are in trouble. My dad told me years ago the best thing that would happen to America is if everybody had to sit in the dark, cold, and hungry, and that would wake them up. Well, I think it's coming. We're in a dangerous position, ladies and gentlemen. We need to get inspectors into these small plants. We need to get better inspectors. We need to get going on this today, not tomorrow, today. You need to be calling your legislators. We need to be opening up the country. Your food supply is in danger. Ranchers are going broke every day. We're doing all we can to stay here. We are in crisis in America. This is a crisis. This is a national crisis. And everybody's just sitting back enjoying their time off, enjoying that $1,200, not knowing that overnight you're going to go hungry. It's coming. Ladies and gentlemen, we need your help. We need your help today. Everybody, all hands on deck. It's time. We need you to go to demandUSAbeef.com, sign the petition for country of origin labeling. People want to know where their food comes from. I don't want any beef out of Namibia. I don't want any beef out of Brazil. I want my own beef. I'm blessed to be able to eat my own beef, but a lot of you aren't, and you need the freedom to choose your product. Demand mandatory country of origin labeling. Demand that these people get back to work. Where have our patriots gone? Where are you? I ask you that today. This thing's going to be incredibly tough overnight. It's already tough. You think the shelves were empty 2 weeks ago. You just wait. We have a bottleneck in this processing facility and the logistics in this transportation system of our food supply. You think we're not in trouble? We are. I'm sorry. My tone is so bad. I'm so upset. But we have got to get this going today, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate your support. Producers, start reaching out to consumers. Forget these associations. We got to put a stop to it, too. It's time. My apologies for my tone. I'm worried about my country. Try to make it a good day, you guys.
Okay, there we have. Tom, we're going to get your reaction. Now, there's a lot of wind noise. He's out on his ranch as he's sharing this, but wow, right from his heart, he's warning America what's ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right on with what's happening, and, up against a massive global structure that is trying to destroy his industry. And, we have so many people in this country who are so ignorant about where our food comes from.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, which is the largest in the country, is backing these policies. And I went on a direct attack against them. I called them the Judas goat of the cattle industry, leading their whole industry into the slaughter of this. And they responded with an article, a pathetic article that said, "Why sustainability?" And they tried to defend it. One of the things they said was, well, consumers are starting to ask more intelligent questions about where their food comes from. And organizations like the World Wildlife Fund have a lot of influence. So it's real important for us to be sitting at the table with them. That is just pathetic.
And
the cowboys that I know in the past would have gone in and kicked over the table and said, "Get out of our way."
Yeah. And by the way, the website that he gave there was demandUSAbeef.com, demandUSAbeef.com. They do have a link there for a petition drive on this very issue. But, Tom, he spoke of this country in Africa that has started importing beef. I'm looking at the globalmeatnews.com, February 26, 2020, and it says now the country, Namibian, is their meat is making it eligible now to come here to the U.S. under the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. This initial year, 860 tons of meat coming into the U.S., and by the fifth year, they'll be able to send up to 5,700 tons. Meanwhile, as he's pointing out, they're told to euthanize. They're euthanizing animals or having to kill them or abort, animals, etc. I mean, it's outrageous what's going on.
Yeah, and what they do is they get that African beef for pennies on the dollar. Then these packing companies, Tyson and JBS, and there's four of them, they then sell it. They're raising prices, and they're selling it for more. But the American cattle growers are, they won't buy their beef, and so they're buying this fake. And one of the things they do is they bring it in from these foreign countries, and then they process it here, and they say, "Oh, this is American beef."
Wow.
That's the game that's being played here, but it's not true, obviously. And this is why they're working so hard to get, the country of origin labeling. And, it's interesting. You can buy a shirt in the store, and it tells you where it was made, but you can't find out where your beef came from.
Wow. Folks, our telephone number to Crosstalk, 800-733-9829. We love hearing from some of you ranchers out there, too, on these issues. 800-733-9829. But our audience as a whole, Green New Deal is Agenda 21, is Agenda 2030. Our topic today here on the program. Tom DeWeese is with us. Go to their website and read the article, AmericanPolicy.org. And we encourage your calls here today. We'll take as many as we can. Our time is brief, but there's lots of information to bring your way. And we are seeing the what's happening within the meatpacking plants across the nation right now, and how there's concern what's going to be happening just days or weeks from now on store shelves as well. And certainly the bottleneck, as he referred to it, is very much a real thing that's going on right now and needs to be addressed. But here's the point, Tom. This is all part and parcel of what's part of the Green New Deal, what's part of Agenda 21.
It is. I mean, they blatantly say we've got to stop beef consumption to save the planet. And there is absolutely no scientific evidence to show that is true. In fact, there is scientific evidence to show that would actually damage a lot of the land around the country, the grazing lands and so forth. If you took the cattle off of it, they've helped improve it. And but this is all based on control. It has nothing to do with protecting the environment whatsoever. I could go through program after program that they say are sound environmental programs to help save the planet, and I could show you how each of those programs hurts the planet rather than helps it. And and they have started to admit now, as time goes by, that, well, this really doesn't have anything to do with protecting the environment. This is about changing, getting away from free enterprise, and having control.
A quick break here, folks, and we'll come right back to your phone calls for the final segment of the program today. And this is one of those programs you're going to want to obtain. Going on our website here a couple hours from now will be posted, CrosstalkAmerica.com, or contacting our switchboard at 800-729-9829. We'll be right back.
For the Worldview Week in Minute, I'm Brandon House. Our website's worldviewradio.com. Do you want to know the end game? Revelation 18 tells us what the end game is. It is a world government based on governments, business, and religion. Governments, business, and religion. Or you could say merchants, kings, nations, and spiritualism. That's what we're doing. That's what we're seeing. The rise of world government, the rise of big international corporations working in concert with the world governments, and a sorcery, occultism, New Age, spiritualism, mysticism, whatever you want to call it. And Revelation 18 speaks of this. Whether you were talking the New King James or the New American, they use the word merchants 4 times, kings twice, nations twice, sorcery once, and all kinds of talk about the people being drunk with the spiritualism of the occultic system of Babylon. You see, it's all coming in to clear view now.
Folks, these are not isolated things that are going on. They are all interconnected, and tying them together with us is Tom DeWeese. Read the article, AmericanPolicy.org. Let's get to the phone lines here. Lat from Racine, Wisconsin, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi, Tom. Hi, Jim. The question I have, Tom, is, and I want to ask you this question, and I'll take my comment off the air. Now, through this COVID-19 and Agenda 2030, this is what I'm kind of seeing. I want to see what you think about it. We know they're destroying our beef right now, our beef ranchers, our agriculture, our healthcare system through this. Do you believe that through that, destroying all this, that eventually their end goal is to get hyperinflation in this country, where overnight something will go from $3 to $30, and through hyperinflation we'll have a collapse? They'll destroy the dollar, and then they'll get their new digital currency in this country. And I'll take my comment off the air. Thank you.
Okay, Lat. Tom?
Yeah, I think there's some real reason in what you're saying. I mean, some truth in that, absolutely. And their first enemy to get rid of is a free market. They say it over and over and over again. Well, that's how you do it. And then the ultimate goal is to have people saying, looking to the government for the answers, the very government that created the problems in the first place. But now the government has to provide the answers, and the answers are what they want. That's their agenda.
We've got Troy calling from Oshkosh. You're on the air, Troy.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I'll be brief. Glory be to God, for He will provide for all of us. Just remember that. I just want to say that with all this that's going on, my understanding, you guys think that the black horse in Revelations has been riding?
No, not at this time, Tom and Troy. And we're not talking prophecy at this point. We're talking right now about the here and now, what is going on that we're observing. We've done other programs where we've talked about some of these with Gary Ka. I'd like to have you go back, but I can't have us be diverted today from our topic. Thank you. Steve in Salina, Kansas, you're on the air.
Yeah, thank you for the program today, Tom. It's great to get this information, but I've called our governor here in Kansas. I don't know how many times. The senators. I've been to a freedom rally in Topeka. Was there protesting for 2 hours. But we have to stand up as a nation. We just can't sit by and this is what's so frustrating for me. I will call people and tell them, call the governor, call your representatives, and they say, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. And we're losing our country. And it's like people are just petrified and so much fear of this COVID, they're frozen. This is just too coincidental that everything's hitting at one time. To me, it's all been planned. It's all laying out like they wanted to go. But people, we pray to God, yes, but we have to stand up for our rights and our freedom and our religious freedom. We have got to start calling our governor as representative and let them know we're not going to take this no more.
Thank you for your comments here, Steve. And he used the term fear. And, Tom, that's something that those who have been wanting to implement Green New Deal and so forth, they're witnessing what's going on with COVID-19, and they're finding the key is fear.
fear is the real central part of all of this. That's where the climate change whole thing came from, fear. I've had Greens say to me, it doesn't matter how many rights you think you have if you don't have a planet to stand on. There's the basis for the whole thing. I fully understand the frustration, and I will tell you two things. One is I am now seeing more and more people stand up. I've been working on this issue for over 27 years, and I've been frustrated by people not standing up. They have to feel the pain first. Well, boy, they're feeling it now.
Yeah.
And I see more people standing up. And as I mentioned to you earlier, we are beginning to work on a training program. People don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. And we're working on a training program. We're going to be coming up very shortly to help people to learn how to fight back.
So, folks, get signed up at AmericanPolicy.org and be alerted. And to our earlier caller, yes, this is all pushing toward globalism and one world system, collapse of money supply. It's all part of it. Doug in Waukegan, Illinois, you're on the air.
Yes, I was just sitting here thinking with all these ranchers suffering and the cows and the hogs and the sheep and all the livestock that's being killed. When is they going to come and get our dogs and cats?
You know, you already have the animal rights movement that doesn't believe you should be allowed to have pets, that they are prisoners in your home, and they need to be freed. That PETA and these organizations, that actually is their thinking.
Don't you dare swat that mosquito. Thank you, Doug. Brenda in Nashville, Tennessee, you're on the air.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. I was at Walmart early this morning, and the beef counter was absolutely empty. Nothing. So your show is right on today. And I also have friends up in Kentucky that have gorgeous herds of Black Angus cattle.
Yeah.
And they're hard-working people, sir, and they're Christians.
And we're thankful for them. Thank you, Brenda. Andreas in New Mexico, you're on the air. Andreas.
You know, you already have the animal.
Okay, let's go to Scott in Jackson. Hi, Scott, you're on the air.
Hi, Jim. I just wanted to make a comment. Does your guest know and you that like Smithfield's, Patrick Cudahy, and I believe that JGS plant in Green Bay are owned by China?
China connections.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Scott.
Absolutely.
Your comment on that, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. We know that. And China is buying up land and companies across this country. In fact, I've got a new article that just came out as well called "Are We Being Taken Over by China?" And it's got a lot of those details in it. Yep.
Check it out there. And thank you for the call. We've run out of time for additional calls, and I know more of you have questions you'd like to ask or comments to make, but we'd encourage you to go to Tom's website, download the article. And matter of fact, Tom, on your site, you have a big box in the right corner saying Stay Informed, where you give weekly updates. And if people put in their email address, they can just hit the subscribe button, and they will be informed as you put out news releases.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we get these webinars ready, these training webinars and so forth, that's where you'll learn about it. So, yeah, sign up there, and we'll keep you informed. AmericanPolicy.org is the website, and you can put in your email address to stay posted there. And look at the latest article there. Green New Deal is Agenda 21, the growing drive to make it law. Tom, we've got half a minute. What do you want to leave with the listeners? Just take it all to heart. This is absolutely happening. It's not a conspiracy theory. And we've got to stand up and fight back and take it to heart. Tom, thank you for going out of your way, literally, to join us here on the program today and sharing such important information. Glad I got to. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Tom DeWeese with us, AmericanPolicy.org. And again, friends, the information you learn from Crosstalk, share it with others. It should be posted at our site within a couple hours, CrosstalkAmerica.com. We do make CDs available for donation of just $6. You can call 800-729-9829. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Take Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208, or download by RSS or podcast from CrosstalkAmerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.